All right, everyone, welcome in. Good evening. Anthony here, Puget Sound Stormwatch, back again for live weather coverage. Thank you all again for hopping in, joining me today. We'll be getting our coverage started very shortly. Just have a few other things to set up, and then we will begin. Hey there, Alex in Wonderland is first to the party today. Hello, welcome in. Ooh, a lot of you guys hopping in on Facebook here. Good to see that. Hey there, Cheryl. Welcome in. Good evening. Yeah, there is a deluge of rain going on right now here in Western Washington. Let's see, very nice rain shadow set up north of Everett all the way up to the Conway area and across from northeast Jefferson County up into the foothills here. So Oso area might be getting a little bit of a break here. I got some reports out of Oso earlier that it was just dumping down rain and the wind was going erratic a couple hours ago. Hey everyone, welcome in. Yeah, go ahead, let me know where you're watching from, what the weather is like right now over your area. I cracked my window open so I can hear conditions outside as they happen. Especially the wind tonight. Let's see how long we go. I took a short little nap before the stream. And actually most of us weather forecasters who are going to be at it tonight have actually taken naps today. It's kind of funny. A lot of us talk to each other behind the scenes, and it sounds like a lot of us are getting ready for tonight. We could be seeing some isolated severe storms as well. But it's mostly just going to be with that cold front that comes through. There's going to be some breaks in the front where the winds can shift. We could get some locally stronger downburst winds. And that's the probability right now. Let's go look at the current SPC forecast. But first, hold up. First, to look at the warning advisory and watch map for our area. And it is just, again, lit up like a Christmas tree. You can see this thing from outer space. Yes, here's our day one marginal risk contour. This means that there's a 5% risk of either or damaging winds, hail, or a 2% tornado risk. In this case, see, we go to day one tornado, nothing. Day one hail, nothing. Day one wind, 5%. The 5% chance of seeing damaging wind gusts 58 miles per hour or greater within 25 miles of a contour. So extend this outline by 25 miles, and that is your effective contour that you have for these upcoming wind gusts potentially overnight. It's looking like the best chance is going to be anytime between 10 p.m. tonight and 2 a.m. tomorrow morning. So it's going to be more of a nocturnal event. See, a lot of comments coming in. Let me read through them real quick. Cody Burnett's asking about Buckley. Longview Kelso. Okay, so you guys were pretty much all in the chance here for Western Washington. If you extend this out by 25 miles, this includes a little bit of Skagit County and a little bit of San Juan County and points off to the east here into the Cascades. And this is just for the isolated damaging wind convective threat. This does not count actual winds behind the cold front or from any of these subtle features like the leeward low that we've been talking about recently, for example. Or a pressure rise. You probably heard a lot of people talk about a pressure rise behind the area of low pressure when it comes through. If we get any strong pressure rises, like anything above really 4 millibars in an hour of pressure change, in this case a rise, then yeah, we could have some isolated stronger gusts even above the warning threshold, because we do have that high wind warning in effect for some parts of our area. Just as a little heads up. Let me again, let's pull up the high wind warning contour here. Hang on just one moment. There's a lot to dig through here on the site. There's so many warnings, watches, and advisories in effect. It's actually taken me a while to find them. Anyways, let me pull this up real quick for you guys. Anywhere in the black boxes here, anywhere in these black contours, you're in a high wind warning. That went into effect at 4 p.m. tonight and remains in effect until 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. This is the original issuance, but they have extended it. So remains in effect now. This was at 3:12, so it remains in effect until 6 a.m. tomorrow. And they're calling for southwest winds sustained 25 to 35 with gusts 50 to 55, but this is on the higher end of potential wind gusts. Again, really, this is a precaution due to, again, super saturated soils around the area, and we're continuing to get a downpour outside. I can just hear the rain bashing on my window right now. You know, it's just stupid how much rain has been falling around this area. Still looking like for Eatonville. I believe Eatonville is in the wind advisory, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, we just got a subscriber. Thank you, Nick Kimmer, for subscribing to Puget Sound Stormwatch on Facebook. Appreciate your support. Hopefully you find it worthwhile. Yeah, I've been focusing most of my resources here towards daily live coverage, really. You know, in exception of maybe a couple days the last week, we've had pretty much daily live coverage. Wowza. Okay. Hang on here. I saw... Oh, okay, that was 3 years ago. Someone sent in a weather model, and it was showing stupidly high wind gusts, but that was over 3 years ago. So, whew. That almost caused me to break a sweat right there. I was like, oh boy. Alright. Yeah, high wind warning again, including cities like Burlington, Mount Vernon, Anacortes, Oak Harbor, Coopville, Everett, Marysville, Arlington, Stanwood, Kent, Renton, Federal Way, SeaTac, Burien, Tacoma, Puyallup, Lakewood, parts of South Hill, Spanaway, Parkland, Nisqually, Yelm, Olympia, Tumwater, Shelton, Allen, Greatview, Port Townsend, Port Ludlow. And thank you, Tyler Payne, for subscribing here on Facebook. Appreciate that. So yeah, Squim, Port Angeles, Nia Bay. All the coastal beaches here in the Seattle County warning area, all the way down to Grayland. So this includes Ocean Shores, Westport, Aberdeen, Hoquiam, Montesano, Elma. You know, all the way down through Oakville, down here in Grays Harbor County. So again, anywhere in this box. This does not include Port Orchard, Bremerton, Silverdale, or Paulsbo at the moment. These are in the wind advisory. Seattle, downtown, Shoreline, Bothell, Mukilteo area, Edmonds, Kirkland, the foothills right now, you're in the wind advisory. So that does include Eatonville as well. So not expecting wind gusts 40 to 45 miles per hour, but nothing higher at the moment. What about the Claw? Yes. So this applies to Fall City, Snoqualmie, and Enumclaw. Wind advisory, 40 to 45 mile per hour southwesterly wind gusts overnight. Just a heads up. Even then, that could be on the higher end of things for some areas. You know, they're forecasting on the higher end, again, because of super saturated soils. It won't take much to do some serious damage around the area. Any strong wind gusts in the forecast tonight for Windville? Yes, absolutely. This is region-wide. So, yeah, again, second with the Windville. Yeah, South Auburn. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of your questions come in, folks. Looking through Facebook first. I haven't even taken a real peek over at YouTube, and I see you guys are going ballistic over there. Yeah, Bree with Little Bear Creek weather. Welcome on. Yeah, worried about the westerly surge. Some of these models, and let's go take a look at some model guidance, shall we? Since we haven't looked at that quite yet. Let's check out the European First 18Z data ran at 10 a.m. this morning. Still quite a ways out from the 0Z, unfortunately. Usually takes about 4.5 to 5 hours for that to render. How far south are you expecting significant... Oh, jeez. That was a blunder. Significant winds. I'd say we're not really seeing much Olympia southward. For the inland areas, Olympia southward's right about the cutoff. And even Olympia may be kind of on the edge. how much we've gotten in the last 24 hours. You're talking about rain, right? We can look at 24-hour rainfall totals. But see, the Europeans being a little generous here. But then again, that is normal. And see, it still has a lot of the area 40 plus. And again, westerly surge here, over 60 miles per hour possible. This is max wind gust between 10 p.m. tonight, 4 a.m. tomorrow. And it still shows it going into 10 a.m. tomorrow as well. See, and then we're looking at Thursday morning and afternoon system as well, which keeps trending northward. It's been on a concerning trend northward, but the atmospheric river part of it is expected to stay south of Lewis County by the looks of it. So the heaviest of rain will stay south of Lewis County here, but the wind is definitely a cause for concern here. And again, it's also indicating a chance of a low pressure system forming here on the northeast side of the Olympics, which can cause a gradual pressure gradient over just a small area. And once more, pressure gradient, stronger pressure gradient means bigger winds. But outside of that, we're way in the fantasy land here. This is going out to Monday morning, and even then, that show is quite breezy. But we're not looking at that right now. We're looking in the short term. Short term is the most important. Good. Our 0Z NAM's finally rendering. Perfect. Just what I wanted to see. Let's see what this shows. Does it drop a banger on us? It actually backed off quite a bit, which is good news. Well, again, this is one model run, but what it does show here is that strong westerly surge, 3 a.m. Just a heads up, guys, I see a very high volume of questions coming in. I won't be able to answer them all, and I'm sorry about that. Just going over general areas here. Just pay attention. I'll talk about the general areas here. And if you're in that general area, that does apply to you. Okay, just to take care of a lot of that. All right, see Ben's in the chat, as well as Matthew. Hello, everyone. Welcome in. We got Ben and Matthew here in the chat. Yeah, I see a lot of people hopping on. I haven't even checked. We're at 124 here on Facebook. 124 and 106 here on YouTube. That is just incredible to start things out. Looks like Facebook might have missed a subscriber update here, but yeah. So Nick Kimmer, thank you for becoming a subscriber. Thank you, Tyler Payne. And we also have Darcy Blinn as well. So thank you guys for becoming page subscribers. And 30 likes already here on YouTube. Thank you guys for that. So yeah, a lot of your questions coming in. I won't be able to answer them all, but I can give you approximate ranges for your area. Again, going through some of your comments here because there's dozens of them already pouring in. Thunder and lightning is entirely a potential, yes. Yeah, exactly like Ben said. Smash the like button, guys, here on YouTube especially. Like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell if you're on YouTube. Ring that bell for future live stream notifications like this. Sometimes they don't always go on the live stream at the exact time I say. I usually give a rate. So if you want to know right away, if you want to jump on and not miss any coverage whatsoever, that would be the way to do it, for sure. All right, let's see here. Would Olympia have no power with this? I can't say where and when power outages will occur. That is way outside of anyone's ability. I will say the power outage threat is elevated. For sure, it is elevated. And thank you, Lisa Seckler, for becoming a member here on YouTube. In case you guys didn't know, I have enabled memberships and super chats for you guys on YouTube. You guys also have the ability to gift memberships if you want to. So appreciate that. All right. Yeah, I see a few of you guys hopping over from Matt. Thank you guys for joining. Melissa Pacey, thank you for sending 99 stars. Getting really toasty in here already. You got to turn the fan on. Hang on. And look at that. Lisa sent 5 memberships. So even Ben received a membership. Hey, thank you so much, Lisa, for sending memberships. So 5 gifted memberships for 1 month. So a dash of Ash, Mama Miyamoto, Ben with Washington Weather Chasers, Sonia, my moderator, as well as Adam J. Congrats, you guys are 1 month members now. If you don't wish to continue your memberships after 1 month, no problem at all. I completely understand. Lake Stevens going to be like tonight. Should we be worried? I wouldn't be really worried. I'm just gonna say be prepared. Don't be worried, but be prepared. For sure. It's gonna be a nowcasting style event, and that's why we have the hazards and data viewer up. I have this set to filter out anything below 30 miles per hour, so it gets rid of all of the junk, all of the breezes. This is really like a small craft advisory level winds. If you're a mariner, you would know what a small craft advisory is. Really that and above. So anything 30, 40, 50, even 60 if it gets up to that. And see, we're already hitting 49 here at Hoquiam Bowerman Field, which is the record on the day for that station at the moment. But still a long night ahead for us. And see, up in the 40 mile per hour range already for not only Camino Island, but Whidbey Island as well. Let's go check, see if we can see the front here on visible satellite imagery. It's somewhere in here. You can see where the light and dark meet. So our frontal boundary is just off the coast right now, and it's making a beeline for our area. It may, if it keeps up at this rate, it may even move in a little bit quicker than we're anticipating too. Also, welcome Aaron Hobson, 5367. Thank you for joining. Looks like you are on the Storm Watcher, so you actually upgraded to a Tier 2 membership. Appreciate that. Ooh, Facebook's got a new Facebook's got a new feature, so it shows you new subscribers and it highlights you. Interesting. Thank you, Ann Brown, for donating 500 stars. Wind gust for Olympia. Yeah, so again, on the higher end of things potentially, but it is showing the Olympia area getting up to 50 miles per hour overnight at about 1 a.m. This is going to be around the time that cold front comes in. Let's just see what the radar looks like at this time. You can pretty clearly see these line segments embedded within that frontal boundary there. Although recent updates here on the NAM make it look a little more sloppy when it comes in. A little bit of a sloppier congealed storm mode as these showers and possible thunderstorms come in. But we'll have to watch these little breaks here in the flow. These could definitely kick up some stronger downburst winds. When you have convection combined with strong winds aloft, we saw this on October 25th. Before the main windstorm event, we had these convective downbursts that affected areas like Bonnie Lake and took them out of the grid. Knocked a lot of areas out of power before the main windstorm even happened that night. And that wasn't long ago either. What's that mean, Matt? What is that referring to? Sorry, I've been going through a lot of talking back and forth on YouTube, as well as Facebook, so I may miss some of your comments again. Is westerly surge supposed to hit Coopville at 63 mile per hour gusts? Entirely possible. Some of the models have actually been going higher than that. So that's just my precaution to you now. See, like the NAM here, fresh NAM imagery shows around 64 just west of Coopville here. But in Coopville itself, it's showing around 56. This is just one model run. Again, one model run from one specific model. We can compare this to the HER3KM, and we have the 1Z rendering now. But we can look at the 0Z imagery and see it's showing some of those stronger wind gusts. Again, Everett area, Whidbey Island, North Kitsap, Eastern Jefferson County. Heads up, 1 a.m. you could be getting this. Last night, we got some wind around the area, but it was a bit offset. It was a few hours later than forecast around most of the area. So that, of course, is kind of a cause of concern for some people. They don't always get the winds on time. And that's why I give you deviations usually. Thank you, Melissa, for the additional 500-star donation. The front. What's that mean, the front? Are you talking about what a frontal boundary is? Because if you're talking about what a frontal boundary is, in this case a cold front, it's always talking about the air mass it's ushering in, not out. In this case, a warm front would be a cold air mass being overtaken by a warm air mass. Cold front would be vice versa. So a warmer air mass like we have right now being overtaken by a colder air mass. And right behind that cold front, the snow levels are going to come crashing down to around 2,000 feet and give all of the mountain passes and most, if not all, of the Cascade Peaks here in Washington snow by tonight. And in case you guys don't know, I was talking about storm chaser Connor Croft recently. He's actually going to be up in Snoqualmie Pass streaming. I believe he's going to be streaming at midnight tonight for any of you night owls that want to tune into that. Yeah, the HRRR's been showing this weird little bow echo feature. So this could warrant, if you guys are up here, you could get a severe thunderstorm warning if the NWS warrants it. Just a heads up, it's been showing this really strong bow echo-like feature in approaching areas like Oso and Concrete, Darrington, perhaps, all the way down into Everett and parts of North King County here. See, and then goes off to the mountains. We have torrential snowfall rates. That's why the blizzard warning's in effect. Could even have some of these cells coming in down here in Tacoma. Wouldn't be surprised if this causes a few rumbles of thunder, maybe some lightning overnight. That's around midnight. Let's see, the HRRR shows this frontal boundary a little clearer, and even some prefrontal cells possible with that. Could have these heavier hail showers possibly, and maybe a rumble of thunder. But, with the high wind warning already in place, we have those strong winds aloft. If we can get this frontal boundary or any of these pre or post frontal cells to bring that down towards the surface, could see locally damaging winds in some areas. Which, of course, if it's convective, which means if it comes really from a thunderstorm or any sort of convective downburst, they could put out a severe thunderstorm warning for a little area on that, for wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. Tonight will not be like the bomb cyclone. Nope, completely different synoptic setup. This is an area of low pressure that's making landfall somewhere around central Vancouver Island, and then a cold front coming through. We did not have that with the bomb cyclone last year. We had this massive area of low pressure off the coast, and that drew in a vacuum from east to west. These winds are going to be more southwest to northeast, or west to east if you're north of Everett here. And we're going to get this big convergence zone action when it's all done. And then even through the day tomorrow, it shows some of these isolated cells here. See, tomorrow 1 p.m. shows some rather robust looking showers here. Sometimes the HRRR can overdo the reflectivity, aka make it look stronger than it actually is. It's a heads up for that. And then we look forward to Thursday's system, which right now all the high-res models once again showing it south of Lewis County. So Portland southward, along the Cascades especially, it's your turn now. But we'll be looking at winds during this period as well. This goes out to 48 hours, so we can see through the day on Thursday. And even on Thursday, showing some close to 45, maybe 50 mile per hour gusts late Thursday morning, early Thursday afternoon too. Just the 1, 2, 3 punch that I've been talking about. It's just going to be, it's 1, 2, 3 punch. When do we get a break? That's an excellent question. Let's look ahead a little bit, shall we? It looks like we're in range of the 1Z HRRR as well, the 5 p.m. run. So we'll check that out later on. But we need to zoom out. And I'm holding off on questions at the moment. I just want to go over a longer range diagnosis real quick, and then we'll start to follow up with some of your questions. I noticed a lot of you guys commenting questions for certain cities. And like I said, I won't be able to get to all of them, just as a heads up. I won't be able to get to all of them. I'm just one person. So thank you for understanding. Yeah, here's the area of low pressure moving way up here, north of Vancouver Island, up towards Haida, Kauai here. And then we're watching the cold front extend all the way down from that. Boom. Cold front tonight. That comes through. Snow in the mountains. See, scattered showers tomorrow throughout the day. Some of these could be heavy. And then we're watching that impulse, and boom. Very favorable spot for that, for stronger winds around the area at 990 millibars, right in the area of Cape Flattery and La Push, right along the Tualatin County coast here. That is the Goldilocks zone for wind around here. If that comes in a little bit stronger, we could be talking big winds Thursday as well. See, and then that atmospheric river down here in northwest Oregon. We're lucky this isn't a little bit farther north, or again, our southwest Washington rivers would just not get a break. Getting a break right now, and we're not forecasting really any flooding for many of these rivers. A little bit of flooding for the Cowlitz at Kelso, yes. Due to them releasing water from the Mayfield Dam, a little bit of flooding downstream, cities like Toledo, for example, eastern parts of Vader that aren't up on the hill, and then minor flooding for the Cowlitz at Randall. But other than that, not seeing much for river flooding down here in southwest Washington, which is a huge, huge sigh of relief. Can't say the same for up here in Skagit, though. We're back up the moderate flood stage and only expected to go higher by Thursday morning. Again, major flood crest expected for Mount Vernon. Don't be surprised if you get some of those evacuation orders reinstated for you in the next couple of days. Jeez, and then that's something else to watch too. Sunday afternoon, where is that area of low pressure going to go? You know, that goes into the right place. Boom, we have yet another thread of wind going into Monday the 22nd. It looks like we initially get a break from the strongest rain and wind this weekend. So Friday, possibly Saturday too. But something fluid, we'll be keeping our eyes on it. But it really looks like after Friday, we're in for a little bit of a break. And then we have to watch what the heck happens here Sunday afternoon. Is this going to bring a big storm system in, or is it just going to be a dud? You know, it's still too soon to say for that. All right, let's go through some of your comments real quick. Yeah, correct, Sparky One. I showed that earlier. Marginal risk of severe storms. And as some people have said in the weather community, it's really just high winds with maybe a little bit of thunder mixed in. You know, there's going to be high winds whether they're severe storms or not. But the severe storms, if we do get anything considered severe, then it could really exacerbate those winds over a very small, gradual area. And again, microclimates are going to come in huge here. And there's really no predicting where and when you're going to be getting these big winds. That's why they have a huge area covered, just in case. Hey there, Jess Biness 808. You might have just tuned in a little bit late, but hopefully you heard that. I was talking about the extended outlook here and about how we have to worry about Thursday and possibly Sunday as well. Sunday, we'll be watching that system as it comes in too, because the European wants to bring pretty deep low pressure system pretty close to our area, and that's a pretty nice gradient with 988 millibars right there. Definitely a favorable gradient for some wind. Let's go see real quick what the wind forecast is. Yeah, see? It's got it. It's around 40 miles per hour. It's not strong, but it is something. As you go into Monday morning, 4 to 10, it's showing a lot of 40 plus here. Yet again, in another system off the coast. It's just relentless. We're underneath the storm train now. You know, the jet stream is off to our south. We're on the north side of the jet stream. That means we're in a trough pattern, and a trough means unsettled weather. We go and look at anomalies at 18,000 feet. You see that blue? You see that purple? That means troughing. See, this is going to be our system coming in tonight. Boom, trough. See, and then a little bit of relief, and then boom, trough again. See, and then potentially stronger system to watch as we go out in the Monday too. That's the wind potential I'm talking about Sunday and the Monday as well. See, we're going to be stuck in this storm train pattern for some time. It doesn't look like, at least in the short term, we're going to be getting any ridging to protect us over the area. It's just going to be low pressure. So those barometers are going to read pretty low. Mukilteo on the water. Yeah, prepare yourselves. You could get some of that big westerly surge tonight, and it's not looking fun up there along the water. Again, these are upper level winds. Just forget you saw that. These are showing winds at 18,000 feet. But let's go down to surface level winds and zoom in one more time, shall we? Okay, so this is the farthest zoom I can get. Again, bullseye area. Mukilteo all the way up to parts of Skagit County. like La Conner, for example. It's even showing stronger winds for the Edison area, Snoqualmie Reservation, parts of Hidalgo Island here. You know, even Mount Vernon showing 52 miles per hour, Everett 46. These Camino just gets walloped in this run at midnight. See, there's your frontal boundary. There's your westerly surge right behind it. Breezy around the area, but then when that front comes through, alakazam, there's stronger winds around the area. See, is it still showing that bow echo feature? Oh, it sure as heck is, and it's just, oh my Lanta. Look at that reflectivity right there. That would be a monstrous severe thunderstorm for Skagit County, Mount Vernon area, all the way up the hill there where they're having the flooding right now. That would be absolutely torrential rainfall rates. Just hope that's a huge overestimation. That's definitely a severe thunderstorm right there. That would definitely have a warning for probably Whatcom all the way down to Snohomish County. So don't be surprised. This is at midnight tonight. If you get waken up in this area with a severe thunderstorm warning notification on your phone, you know, wind gusts above 60 miles per hour possible. Again, not expecting a hail or tornado threat, but we do have the possibility for some strong damaging convective wind gusts as well. Again, related to thunderstorm activity, not necessarily differences in pressure like with a windstorm, a textbook traditional windstorm that we have. Hey there, Sonia. Good to see you again. Did you see you were gifted the membership? Thank you, Lisa Seckler, for gifting 5 memberships earlier. You are now a member for 1 month. Get off around 1 a.m. Ooh, that's going to be a rough time. That's going to be a rough time getting home at 1 a.m. for that area, for sure. I definitely consider leaving at least before 11 p.m., I'd say. Because it's probably going to start getting ugly around the area at 11 p.m. I got a ding there, but it's just climate reports. I was waiting to see if they upgraded any spots to high wind warnings or... they upgraded parts of Port Townsend here. The water is going into the Puget Sound under a storm warning. So again, that's a marine alert. If I recall correctly, that's wind gusts above 53 miles per hour over water, not over land. So higher confidence that we'll see these storm level winds going down into parts of northern Kitsap here, possibly into the Hood Canal, where we got a whopping 78 mile per hour gusts yesterday. We had 74, 75, and 78. But I was focusing on that breaking flood coverage down here, so I completely missed it. Even then, I didn't really care at the time. You know, my priority was helping all those people to get to safety, even if the wording was a little vague, you know, and I definitely heard it from a lot of people. You know, a lot of you did not like the way the message was disseminated, but you know what? Too bad. A lot of you guys said I was the first one that let you guys know, because any of you guys who were on stream found out like as soon as the text messages went out, you know, and it was very, very stressful yesterday. How's Ording look? Oh yeah, for sure, windy. Again, area-wide winds, especially if you're north of Everett here. Concern for that big westerly surge. See, it's just showing an intense bow echo up here, and it's been showing this. This is at midnight tonight, which I took a nap earlier, so hopefully we have enough steam to continue past midnight, maybe even into 2 a.m. You know, I'm tempted to pull an all-nighter tonight if you guys are willing to hang around. You know, and I still have 130 of you guys on YouTube and 100 of you guys on Facebook. I don't think I've ever had more than 100 of you guys on Facebook, to be honest, let alone this long. You know, I've been streaming for a little over a half hour, and you guys hit 100 4 minutes in, which is just crazy. Debbie Frosch, thank you for your donation, 200 stars. Hey everyone, again, I see a lot of your questions coming in for individual cities. I'm just going over ranges here, okay? I'm just going over ranges. It's going to take a lot of time for one person to answer all of your questions, so just please bear with me. Again, pay attention to your watches, warnings, and advisories, because certain areas are in warnings, certain areas are in advisories. You know, like Western Snohomish, for example, Western Snohomish, Western Skagit, you guys are in the high wind warning, talking about this westerly surge here. But Bellingham, you're in the wind advisory, which is less. Foothills, you're in wind advisories, less than the high wind warning, but the immediate Puget Sound area, all the way down into Olympia, also high wind warning. But Eastern Kitsap, wind advisory. You know, again, weather.gov/SU is the site to look at here, and I'll attach it below for you guys. And see, look at that map, just lit up like a Christmas tree again. Yes, charge your battery packs and phones, like PNW Ryan says. Angela, welcome in. Glad to have you. But yeah, weather.gov, you can select a pinpoint location here. You guys, it may be hard for you guys to see here, especially, you know, if you have a hard time seeing small differences in colors rather than huge contrast differences. You know, you see there's a darker kind of brown shade here, and then there's a lighter brown shade. The lighter brown shade is the wind advisory, which they finally, NWS Portland finally put out that wind advisory. It's about time. I think they may have, let me see, did they expand the wind advisory down into Chehalis? They did, yes. So Chehalis, originally Southwest Interior was not in the wind advisory. You are now in the wind advisory until 6 a.m. tomorrow. So again, those southwest wind gusts, 40 to 45 miles per hour, sustained winds 20 to 30. Again, out of the southwest here. And you still have that river and aerial flood watch as well. Again, weather.gov/SU is the place to be. This is going to be your most accurate weather by a mile. Nasty here in Port Hadlock. Thank you for the report. Yeah, again, sorry guys. I see a lot of you guys coming in. I'm going to keep saying the same exact thing to you guys. I won't be able to answer all of your questions. I'm just giving ranges here. Okay, things are going to vary drastically based on your microclimates. Some of you guys will get less, some of you guys will get more. Just something we're going to have to watch in real time like each event. Yeah, sure thing, Mosky Movies. One of my weather radios was set to a channel that covers King County, and of course it blared to life at 1:30 a.m. Flew up out of bed, and sure enough, another flash flood warning. And as soon as it said for a levee breach for Pacific, I was like, oh boy, here we go again. I used what little energy I had at the time to put a notification out on Facebook, and then after that, I was out like a light again. Ooh, a lot of stars coming in. Hang on, let me shout you guys out here in order real quick, because I'm missing some of you guys. Thank you, Dane O'Brien, for 99 stars. Appreciate that donation. Vashon Island, I believe Vashon Island is in the warning. Vashon Island's in the warning. But Bainbridge Island is in the advisory. Thank you, Valerie Donovan Denny, for 200 stars. Thank you again for another 500 stars, Valerie. And thank you, Ken, for 200 stars. Cascade Foothills Wilkeson, advisory level winds, 40 to 45 across that general area. Not expecting anything too huge in the foothills. This is more so around Seattle and the Puget Sound, because you'll have the strong southwesterlies coming in off the coast here, up through the Chehalis River Gap here, and then across Capitol Peak and the Black Hills into the Puget Sound. But again, this is mainly south of Seattle. Seattle, Bremerton, Silverdale, Paulsbo, you're in the wind advisory. But Everett and points north up to Bellingham, you're in the warning. And then Whatcom County North, you're back in the advisory. So it's a little bit complicated. I completely understand. It's definitely complicated. But the NWS knows what they're doing. I'm not going to question anything that they have to say. The only thing I really have to question is, why did the NWS in Portland hold off so long on that wind advisory? You know, that's really all I'm going to question. Other than that, I have no more questions to ask to the NWS. Ben Yurkovich, you are a character sometimes, I swear. Shout out Washington Weather Chasers, everybody. He popped on here for a second. He might still be lurking around, but yeah, you are quite the character, Ben. Let's see, where were we again? So yeah, again, this is showing the high wind warning. So western Skagit, northwestern Snohomish, including Everett and the town of Snohomish here. Lake Stevens, you're included. Arlington, you're included. Stanwood, you're included. Island County, this does not include San Juan County. If I recall correctly, San Juan County is in the wind advisory, but let's double check on that. Yeah, wind advisory until 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. So no high wind warning for San Juan County. Includes Northeast Jefferson County here. So Port Townsend area, Port Ludlow, Port Hadlock, Sequim, Port Angeles, the entire Strait of Juan de Fuca coast, the entire Washington coast covered by NWS Seattle. So the coast of Tulalip, Jefferson, and Grace Harbor counties. High wind warning until tomorrow at 6 a.m. Wind gusts 50 to 55 possible, which by definition is outside of the threshold for a warning. But again, with super saturated soil, it's not going to take much. And there's also the chance for some stronger winds above that too, especially when the front comes through. You know, there's really no pinpointing that down. It's far from an exact science. Will you please help us with understanding the blizzard warning? Sure thing. Let's go take a look, shall we? So looking at the North Cascades forecast zone here. So let's pull up the blizzard warning. Basically, this meets the criteria of blizzard warning because seeing wind gusts as high as 45 miles per hour over a 3-hour or greater duration, and visibilities below a mile expected. So if you have low visibility, usually under a mile, the threshold could be under a quarter mile, but I know for sure it's at least under a mile visibility. And with wind gusts and sustained snow, so wind gusts above 45 miles per hour, over 3 hours or greater, this qualifies as a blizzard. So winter storm, if we didn't have these strong winds, it would be a traditional winter storm warning, which it was before. But due to stronger wind gusts and lower visibilities, they upgraded it to a blizzard warning for all mountain zones in western Washington, including the Olympics. Again, that does include the Olympics. So all the mountainous zones here in a blizzard warning. This includes Snoqualmie Pass also, which, in case you guys didn't know, Storm Chaser Connor Croft is in town. Famous Midwest storm chaser. He's going to be streaming at the pass late tonight in blizzard conditions. Risky, but more power to him. Very risky. What weather radio covers Pierce County, Tacoma? There's actually 2 of them. Pierce County is covered by station KHB 60 and station WXM 62. So channels 4 and 7 on your NOAA weather radio transmitter. Both 4 and 7 cover Pierce County. Definitely nasty here, East Jefferson. Oh, I believe it. How does Ording look for this evening? Should be fine this evening. Just going to be heavy rain throughout the night. So the heaviest rain's coming to a stop down here right now, west of Olympia. But that's going to be before the frontal system comes in, which is still off the coast at this time by the looks of it. Let's see, heavier rain well north of the area. There's a torrent of heavy rain approaching Everett northward right now. It's on the way. At South Sound, we got probably another ½ inch just in the last 2 hours or so here in the South Sound. That heavy rain is going to be coming to an end until later tonight when that front comes through. So rain should be coming to an end here soon for Ording, at least the heavy rain. Wind gusts, again, you're in that area. You're just outside of the warning area here, but you're in the wind advisory. So wind gusts out of the southwest. Out of the southwest again. 40 to 45 miles per hour overnight. But the chance to get some higher if we do have these robust thunderstorms come through, like the Storm Prediction Center's hinting at. You know, if we can get enough little breaks in this front that come through here, enough little kinks in the line here, we could have these individual discrete little storms. You know, it's showing some discrete nature to this, but overall a more congealed storm mode. If you guys have studied storm mode before, you would know the difference between congealed and discrete, and how discrete storms are more robust than congealed storms. But these congealed storms usually bring a damaging wind risk. It's the discrete ones. Under better conditions, we don't have the favorable synoptics for more discrete supercell-esque storms. Okay, these are going to be low-topped cells, not expected to be supercells. Again, low-topped. Because I believe we have a mid-level capping inversion in place. It's similar to what we saw in March, where that forecast was not even close to verifying for March. We just had that mid-level capping inversion above our area that prevented any more upscale ascent, aka any lift or growth for thunderstorms, maturing. You know what I mean? Tiffany, if it makes you feel better, try averaging out the two. So if you average out 45 and 55, the average is still 50. If you're unsure, just average out the low end and the high end. You know, and by that, I mean the low end of the high end and the high end of the high end. For example, if you have a 40 to 45 range and a 50 to 55 range, average out the 45 and the 55, and you still get 50. And that should be a good approximation for what you should be expecting for the Tacoma area. Yeah, understood, Darren. There is still some confusion because there's a little bit of discrepancy between the warning text and what weather.gov is showing for your area. Completely understood. And it's all happening in real time. So I would follow what the warnings say over what weather.gov the analysis has to say, in my honest opinion. Because the warning's there for a reason. You know, the text may not show it on the site, but there's still a warning for your area. So I would heed the warning for sure. What channel for Port Hadlock? Try channel 2. Station WWG24 is the Puget Sound Marine radio. And let me pull up the transmitter propagation real quick. Puget Sound Marine radio. This is channel 2, 162.425 megahertz on your weather radio transmitter. See, this covers the following counties here in Western Washington: San Juan, Skagit, Island, Snohomish, Kitsap, Jefferson, and Clallam. Now, if there's any warnings issued for these areas, like in the event, if there is a severe thunderstorm warning put out for that expected bow echo feature sometime overnight, it would sound off channel 2. Again, if you go to channel 2 on your NOAA weather radio transmitter, this covers the northwest interior for the most part. It doesn't cover Whatcom County, though. Whatcom County is covered by a station called KAD93, channel 6, which most of us down here cannot get, but it only covers Whatcom and San Juan. So San Juan's covered by channel 6 and channel 2. Alex Britt says, you have been a rock star over the past week. Glad to be here to help you guys. For sure. Oh, there's the ding again. What's that for? Okay. They extended the time of the flood warnings for the Skagit River, just as a heads up. Both of them in effect until at least Friday. So Friday morning for the Skagit near Mount Vernon, and Saturday morning for the Skagit near Concrete, which again, both of those areas are once again expecting major flooding. Purple squares, major flooding forecast. Minor flooding occurring right now at Concrete, moderate flooding occurring in Mount Vernon city limits. So, big heads up to you guys. The threat is far from over, but not even close to that record stage right now. For the forecast, that is. For Granite Falls, you're in the wind advisory. You're not in the high wind warning, but you are in the wind advisory. Again, model guidance is going to vary drastically based on your area. You know, a model's just an idea. It's an idea, but it's not going to be exact. It's never going to be exact. And I just have to keep reiterating that. You know, timing's going to change. Location of these winds are going to change. This may be underdoing it. This may be overdoing it. It's just giving us the main idea. But it does show some strong winds overnight for that area. See, Granite Falls, you're right up in the hillside here approximately, and it's still showing just shy of 44 miles per hour at midnight, about 45 possible through 1 a.m. Again, these models are usually on the higher end, but we've seen confidence with all of the models, all of them. European, HER, NAM, all of the short range ensemble forecasts. I mean, it's all lining up pretty well. You just don't see impressive agreement like that. Even with 2 days out or greater from the event, which it has been showing progressively. It's been showing these winds happening for about a week now, you know? No, Aiden, it's not going to be like the bomb cyclone. Again, I clarified this earlier. It's 2 different synoptic setups here. 2 completely, entirely synoptic setups at bat here. These winds are going to be from a cold front passage, a rather strong cold front passage at that. So a frontal passage is different than a vacuum being pulled out from east to west, like we saw with the bomb cyclone. It had a ridiculously powerful area of low pressure, couple hundred miles off the coast. I believe it was around 300 to 400 miles off the coast. It was down to Category 3, Category 4 hurricane level central pressures. And that just pulled a tremendous vacuum from east to west through the Cascade foothills and into some areas near the water as well. I hit 57 miles per hour up on the hill in Milton with these wind gusts on November 19th, I think it was last year. But no, completely different setup with that. Doppler Dave, what did the models show for that bow echo? For winds, it's definitely showing severe wind gusts. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a really short fuse severe thunderstorm warning issued at around midnight. Because the HER is going crazy. It's got over 70 decibels of reflectivity here in the center of this bow echo feature. And this again is going to go right over those flooded areas right now. It goes right through Mount Vernon, it goes right through Burlington, right through Cedar-Woolley, and it makes a beeline up towards concrete. Like literally within an hour, it's already in the mountains. And then we get to watch for a convergence zone formation by I-90, which again, behind this cold front, it's going to be all snow up here in the peaks. So just adding to those blizzard conditions. Just don't travel tonight. If you can hold off for a little bit, do not travel over the passes tonight. You can't over Stevens even if you wanted to, and you won't be able to till at least February. All right, thank you, Leonid, for your donation of 200 stars. Appreciate that. Southwest Washington, southeast of Chehalis. NWS Portland finally put out that wind advisory for you. Let's go to PQR, which is the designation for Portland NWS. See, finally, it's about time. They did this at 6:30. They waited way too long for this. High wind warning for the coast. Wind advisory everywhere else. So, Pacific, Wahkiakum, Cowlitz, Clark. You guys, the lowlands of these counties, you guys are in the wind advisory. This includes the Willapa Hills also. But the coast, the immediate coast, high wind warning. Again, wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour as shown on the NWS graphic here. Again, anywhere in this brown contour here, you are in the wind advisory. For any Portland or Oregon folks, Southwest Washington folks watching, just a heads up to you guys. HER backed off a ton, Normandy Park, SeaTac areas. Yeah, it backed off from the 1Z, from the 0Z to the 1Z for sure. But what it didn't back off on, what it actually boosted, was the westerly surge potential for Whidbey Island, Camino Island, and western Snohomish, southwest Skagit County. Actually, most of western Skagit County altogether. Anacortes could be getting some of these big winds tonight also. It's not a gimme, but it's an idea. Again, it's an idea of what could potentially be happening. Jeez, this is the quickest we've hit 200 likes here. Thank you guys. Again, liking the stream. Go ahead and share it to your friends and family. Let them know what's going to happen tonight. And there's 155 of you guys on YouTube and, 69 of you guys. So we finally went below 100. No problem at all. I just got the general point across. So a lot of people were like, okay, we got the point. Let's dip out. And no pressure with that. Just again, trying to get to as many people as possible with this live stream. But yeah, it's got kind of a wind shadow feature here, and This would usher in the formation of the convergence zone east of this point. But that wind shadow does try to fill in a little bit. It's just not going to be as intense. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in this area because we're still forecasting the formation of the leeward low. And you guys have heard this from time to time, especially yesterday. It's what caused those hurricane force wind gusts at the end of the Hood Canal up here. Was that little leeward low, a little area of low pressure that forms downslope of the Northeast Olympics here and can create its own localized pressure gradient. We're talking about some impressive pressure rises that may not be picked up on these high resolution models. These pressure rises, if you get anything really above 5 millibars per hour in a pressure rise, let alone they were talking about 10 millibars over 3 hours, that's pretty impressive. But yeah, 5 millibars in an hour, like some of these models are showing, it's not really going to pick it up on these models. And again, we're working with convection too. So these models don't always have a good model for thunderstorm based winds. Let's check lightning flash density as well. See, oh yeah, there's most likely going to be some lightning later tonight with that bow echo up there. It's going to produce some lightning, almost certainly. If we have reflectivity well over 60 decibels like it's showing, upwards of 70 decibels, we could even have some hail with that too. You know, that's gonna bring some lightning, and there's a chance of lightning overnight around the entire area. And even tomorrow, again, with those isolated cells coming through, they have lightning potential. It's going to be an extremely unstable air mass throughout the day tomorrow, so we can't count out the chance of thunderstorms tomorrow as well, but some impressive lightning flash potentials showing up here. You don't see the blue too often. You usually see the light gray like this, which isn't a great chance. But dark blue up here, Whatcom, Skagit, possibly Snoqualmie counties. That thing's probably going to be producing some robust boomers and lightning overnight. You think we need to be concerned? I'll just say be ready. Not necessarily concerned, but just be prepared. Because if you're prepared, then your concerns go down. I understand your concerns, though. You know, if you're around a lot of trees, then definitely a chance for some of those trees to fall, for sure. But just be prepared in the event that it happens, and your anxiety will be heavily reduced. I promise you on that one. That a rain shadow effect, it would be a rain shadow effect. And let's go look at some quantitative precipitation. And you can see the rain shadow quite clearly here. The Seattle's just on the southern tip of this, but the main rain shadow is going to be between Everett and Mount Vernon and points southwestward. I don't know if it's really picking up on this bow echo feature as well as it should be. Because if so, we'd really be blowing up the rainfall totals right over Mount Vernon. So I don't think this model's doing a great job showing the potential precipitation with that strong westerly surge. Which, you know, you have a ridiculous convergence like that coming through. Just westerly winds enhancing that cold front. You're going to have these winds coming in from the southwest, shifting out of the south the farther north you go. They're going to converge, and we're going to get a lot of lift out of that. And that's why we have concerns for that little bow echo, you know, looking storm surge up there. And again, shows it quite well here. You can see the boundary of this. This would be a really strong rear inflow jet aided by the westerlies. The westerly surge in particular is going to bow this out. You know, so it looks like a boomerang here because you have screaming winds coming out, forcing the front of that bow echo out because of that strong rear inflow jet. You know, and with these being mixed down towards the ground too, with strong downbursts, you know, the convective nature of this, that's most likely going to be a severe thunderstorm. You know, if it turns out to be like that, I wouldn't be surprised if some of you guys up there have your TVs go off, your phones go off. If you have a weather radio turned on, that'll probably go off at around midnight if we have that verify. Yeah, Adrian, I feel like South Kitsap's going to be one of those harder hit areas too. I just have a hunch for sure. Thank you, Doppler Dave, for your $5 super chat. Appreciate that. What do the other models show for that bow echo? Yeah, sure. Let's go look at some other model runs, shall we? Let's go look at the NAM. The NAM's pretty new. Let's see. It shows that sharp little bow there. Again, 2 a.m. See what the radar has to show. It's a little bit less pronounced here on simulated radar. The NAM's a little bit less here, but you can see the wind shift. You can tell this is going to be that frontal boundary right there. That comes through. And the NAM's a little bit later on this too. It's at 2 a.m. rather than 12 a.m. like the previous one was showing. Eamclaw, Sumner, Alderton. Yeah, again, I believe Sumner, Alderton, you're in the warning, but Enumclaw, you're in the advisory. Again, the warning is for southwest winds. I believe it was 25 to 40 miles per hour. With occasional gusts of 45 to 55. Let's go check the text again. I want to make sure because they've already done 3 revisions to the warning here. Okay, southwest winds 25 to 35. Wind gusts 50 to 55. That reminds me, we're going to be checking the wind gust map here again. See, we're at 45 already at West Point near Discovery Park in Seattle. So just had a pretty nice wind gust there. Let's check what time this was because this station only updates hourly. It says this was at 6 p.m. So that was a while ago, but still some pretty impressive gusts. See, we're gusting to 50 again here in Camino Island. Now let's look at max wind gusts again since midnight around the area. We had this 47 earlier here at Tacoma Narrows. 45 so far, the record there in the Central Sound. 41, Normandy Park. 40 here at Browns Point. 48. With the max station up the road, it's only 30. So this could have a little bit of terrain enhancement there, perhaps. This may be kind of an outlier, but it was showing 48 miles per hour already in North Bend earlier, which is right in that advisory range. Yeah, and what is that? A 50? That's a 53 for Port Townsend already. Again, high wind warning in effect until 6 a.m. for these select areas. This certainly could increase the flood risk downstream, but most of the precip is expected to fall as snow farther upstream. Like, as you start going up into the Ross Lake and Diablo Lake Dam areas, it's almost certainly going to fall as snow tonight, which will help mitigate the major flood risk temporarily. But it's not expected to last. Again, major flooding expected as soon as tomorrow morning for parts of the Skagit. But downstream in Mount Vernon, I believe it was Thursday morning at around 4 a.m. they were expecting a peak crest at major flood stage for Mount Vernon again. Her backed off from the 0Z to 1Z for the Puget Sound, yes, but it increased for the westerly surge north of Everett. It increased up there, but it decreased a bit for the South Sound here. Anywhere really south of Seattle, it decreased. But again, we're well within hourly range here. So once the 2Z begins to render, it should be very soon. See, we're done with the 1Z here. Once the 2Z begins to render, then we can get an idea in closer range and start comparing run to run. See the run to run changes here. This is an experimental model too. This is still in the testing. This is set to replace the NAM 3KM model early next year. So still a little bit of testing here, but I want to see what it shows for wind overnight. And I think it's on steroids. I think it's safe to say it's on steroids still, because these would be 60 mile per hour gusts for some areas of Tacoma. I hope this is wrong. I don't quite know the reputation of this experimental model yet, but see, it shows an even more defined boundary there. And oh man, that would be insane. Oh boy, look at that. This has got to be severely overdoing it. There's a high unlikelihood that we'll have this many discrete cells ahead of that front. You know, especially that strong too. These are pushing supercells out here. Again, I think someone gave the RRFS model a little bit too much coffee this morning. So that's why I don't use that for diagnostics. Of course, again, it says experimental NOAA product, not for decision making. Again, experimental, but set to launch sometime early next year with a few bugs to work out. And geez, look at that pressure gradient here. If that were to verify a 6 millibar pressure gradient between SeaTac and Olympia, that would mean big time wind, especially over the water. Big time wind if that were to verify. But again, experimental model here. Okay, this is not an experimental model. This is a proven model. It has a reputation. This shows about a 6 millibar gradient across a larger area, which would mean less big wind. Still shows this line's 994 millibars. This is 996, 998. Actually, less than that. This overlaps. So, yeah, the HUR has less winds over the sound now. At least the 1Z. No, this is the 0Z. Let's go look at the 1Z, and the 2Z just started. Let's see, the 1Z has even less of a pressure gradient across the sound now. Let's see, the 1Z still picking up on that nice little bow echo feature. You could even call this an MCS or a QLCS if you wanted to. You know, a little mesoscale convective system or a quasi-lateral convective system. You know, it's within eligibility of that, if you really wanted to call it that. Preston, you are in the wind advisory. Again, wind gusts are going to be out of the southwest. So based on how your performance was with the last few wind events out of the southwest, that's about what you're expected to see tonight. Maybe a little bit more. So I wouldn't discount out the chance of anything above 45 miles per hour for your area tonight up in the foothills. How much more rain can we expect? Again, I don't think these models are doing a great job picking up this westerly surge, that potential severe thunderstorm up here. I think it's showing too little rain amounts up there. But over the next 18 hours, it's predicting over 3/4 of an inch of rain for Tacoma. Some areas around here with the heavier showers. See these little strips here, these little purple strips? Those are likely to be showers, maybe thunderstorms coming through. That can produce locally heavier rainfall amounts across that area. So just a heads up. If we do have these thunderstorms come through, especially these post-frontal discrete storms tomorrow morning, then we could have higher rainfall amounts in these local areas. These also could, again, bring the winds down to the surface. The strongest winds are always going to be several thousand feet above the surface, but sometimes they work their way down to the surface. Which map do I personally think will be the most accurate for tonight? Oh, you're asking a really great question here. Based off its performance yesterday, I have a hunch that maybe the HUR here is on to something for tonight and tomorrow. I think the HUR could take another W out of this, personally. Yeah, and again, the reason why the winds are getting ripped apart here with that frontal system is because of the Olympics. Not only is it going to have a rain shadow over here, but it could have a wind shadow as well. It's a little bit hard to tell if the winds are out of the southwest at this time. Yeah, again, see, westerly surge, and these are sustained winds, and it's showing 45 knots, which is about 50 mile per hour sustained winds. This is why they upgraded this area of water here to a storm warning overnight and tomorrow morning. Let's see, out of the southwest elsewhere here, and out of the west along the coast. Actually, even shifting out of the northwest at times too, behind that frontal boundary. Look, see? It's like you take a butter knife and you do a clean slice across a piece of bread, a PB&J. The clean slice, that's your frontal boundary. And that is a robust frontal boundary too. It's just going to drag the westerly surge in right behind it. You could even get some westerlies here across the sound too, and that's probably why it's showing that wind shadow here. Because the winds shift out of the west behind that front. A little bit more westerly than I originally thought. So heads up, if you're exposed to the west, you could be in for a blow tomorrow. or not tomorrow, tonight is what I mean. By tomorrow, I mean like 1 a.m. tomorrow. See, starting out southwest and then shifting the west behind that front. So areas exposed to the west, heads up. You know, you don't have much mountain protection if you're in these foothills. So some of you guys along the foothills here, especially south of I-90 here, could definitely be in for some localized stronger winds overnight. And then that's why it's picking up on this wind shadow here. But that doesn't count out the pressure rise we could have behind it, which the models don't always show. If we were to have this nice gradient set up here where the lines are closer together, then we could have some wind that the models aren't always going to pick up on. There are several different mechanisms generating wind at the same time, so it makes it a pretty complex forecast for sure. Roadster Jim says severe T-storm not likely. Yeah, not likely. Again, it's a very marginal risk. We're in a marginal risk, but that only means 5%, which also, again, means there's a 95% chance of it not happening. You know, if there were a slight risk, it would be a little bit different. It would be 15%, which is 3 times greater. But no, only a marginal risk. And even then, that was a very questionable decision. You know, if we do get that bow echo feature that is showing up here, that could be a severe thunderstorm. And let's see how far in we are into the 2Z. We're only out to 2 hours, so we have a little bit of a ways to go on that. But it'll be interesting to see what the 2Z her shows for this. I'm going to check some of your Facebook comments here too, because I see Facebook comments still pouring in. A lot of messages too. Sorry if I'm not getting back to your messages, folks. You know, again, a lot of you guys on here completely understood, but I won't be able to answer all of them. It's not going to happen. It shouldn't be long before we get more frames on this, but we're gonna analyze the 2Z run of the HER together. This is the 6 a.m. Initialization of this model. You know, the high resolution rapid refresh spits out a forecast every hour compared to the rest of the high resolution forecasts, which are usually every 6 hours. And same with the globals and the ensembles as well. These are usually every 6 hours. Sometimes every 12 hours, like the Canadians every 12 hours, for example. But I don't use the Canadian for forecasting that much. Okay, there we go. We just got another frame. So we still have to go out. We're going to have to go out at least 6 hours to start to see the event. Again, just my inbox is filling up from you guys. So I'll try to get back to your messages, but there's no guarantee. Again, no guarantees. If I talk about someone's area and your area is nearby, that almost certainly will apply to you also. All right, yeah, see a lot of shares. Thank you guys for sharing the stream on Facebook. Just hit 100 likes on YouTube. Thank you, guys. That was quick. Okay, let's get back to business here. Starting to get some frames here, but see, it doesn't show the front right now. The HRRR doesn't show the front making landfall until about 10 o'clock, but it's going to sweep across the area very quick. This is going to be a quick hitting front, so the winds should not last too long. That is really the only saving grace right now. The winds should not last super long. Is there a chance for thunderstorms for Coopville? Oh yeah, entirely. If what the models were showing before is true, let's go to the previous 1Z here. If that were to be convective, as in related to any shower storm activity, that would likely be a severe thunderstorm for parts of Snohomish, Skagit, and Whatcom counties. You know, we had this before in 2021 where there was, I believe it was a nighttime severe thunderstorm warning issued for a strong westerly surge that looks similar to this. You see that purple there? That's some extreme radar reflectivity. You know, that's up over 70 decibels possible, which is dark purple. Could even have some hail in that, possibly. But again, there's a very minimal hail risk for any of these showers. That's 1Z data. We need to wait for the 2Z to come in, but it's going to take a while. See, from 1Z to 2Z. The 2Z already sets the front behind a couple of miles at the same time. This would be 11 p.m. Oh, the 2Z sets the front behind a little bit and has it a little more strong when it starts going over the Olympics. But the Olympics are going to rip up the middle of this front when it comes over the area. And again, that's probably going to spare some of the Seattle area from the original round of gusts. And that's why they omitted this general area from the high wind warning, because of that potential wind shadow. But that doesn't factor in the potential for the pressure rise behind the front. Which again, if we have the formation of that leeward low behind this, could again kick up some winds down here in the Everett area like we saw yesterday. Could be a very similar play out to what happened yesterday. All right, someone subscribed. Thank you, Karen Steele, for becoming a subscriber on Facebook. Really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Whew, almost 1,000 already. 1,000 views. Okay, so yeah, you see how the Olympics just completely shreds the center of that front as it comes through. This is midnight. But we still have the southern end of this, which would bring a squall through southwest Washington. That would definitely bring some big wind in some parts. And then, of course, our friend, the westerly surge here up north. See, already a big difference from 1Z to 2Z. It has it much farther west, but also weaker at the time. So, that, who knows, 1Z could have completely been in an anomaly. You know, it's gonna come down to real-time analysis. And I'm hoping I have enough steam in my tank to at least go through midnight tonight with you guys. Wind forecast for Auburn. Auburn, if I recall correctly, you are in the warning. Let's double check that one more time. Yeah, Auburn, you're in the warning. So southwesterly wind gusts 50 to 55 miles per hour possible. Again, this is just covering a range. So some areas won't get up to 55 miles per hour. Some areas could get over 55 miles per hour. This warning just covers a broad range. So that's why there's a wider spectrum of winds in the warning description. You know, they're not expecting all of the areas to get up to 55. They're just expecting some. But again, they're highlighting the higher end potential for these. Absolutely very dynamic. And it's going to be pretty unstable, again, behind that frontal system when it comes in. There's going to be a lot of cold air aloft. And once this front moves into the mountains, it's go time for blizzard conditions tonight. Yeah, see, it's not as crazy with the 2Z HRRR as it is the 1Z HRRR. So 1Z HRRR was showing a severe thunderstorm here. 2Z it's very questionable. It looks a little more conditional now in the 2Z than it does the 1Z. But this would certainly bring the front in to the foothills and up towards the mountains here. This would be approaching Stevens Pass towards 2 a.m. if this one were to verify. Again, the front comes through. So see, this is part of the frontal boundary right here. It's just being ripped apart by the terrain, especially the Olympics. And we're gonna have these little breaks here, the little line segments, squalls as you may call them. These squalls could produce some locally stronger winds for some of these areas, but predicting exactly where and when is just not gonna happen. You know, it's gonna be, again, real-time observations. That's why we're gonna be watching it for as long as possible tonight. Why I took a nap right before the stream, so hopefully I have a little extra gas in the tank to have a longer stream tonight. You know, already hear you guys saying, yeah, stay up. You said you're seeing no impact for Everett North. No, big impacts Everett North. If this verifies, we'd see big impacts Everett North. Stronger winds, heavier rain, thunderstorms entirely in the cards. Everson, Sumas area, you're in the wind advisory. So they have less confidence of stronger winds up there, but still possible to see some 40 to 45 mile per hour gusts. Mainly out of the west up there, but it could be out of the southwest, that far north. But at least from about Bellingham south to Everett, we're expecting these to come out of the west through the strait here. Just tuned back in. What happened to the Red Echo east of Mount Vernon at midnight? The run-to-run model change pretty much eliminated it. See, this is the 1Z. We go to the 2Z, the new model run. It's way west of where it was. So it's setting the front back a little bit and has it a little weaker than what it was showing before. Now, this would look different on sub-hourly model runs, but unfortunately with pivotal weather, it doesn't give me access to sub-hourly runs like Weather Bell did. Which is why one reason why I miss Weather Bell so much. But unfortunately, I just couldn't sustain keeping Weather Bell around. And having issues with my bank in Weather Bell again. It's just a huge disappointment. You know, I'm working with less, but I'm working what I have. We're out to 8 hours now, and let's compare this to the 1Z. Not much of a change behind the front. It has some stronger post-frontal showers here in the southwest interior and South Sound, but the 2Z completely wipes that out. Thank you, Douglas Scott Hamilton, for 99 stars. Appreciate that donation. And thank you, Nicholas Blenkush, for 200 stars. He is asking for the forecast for East Renton Highlands, Maplewood Heights. Yeah, so definitely heavy rain expected overnight. Possibility for some isolated thunderstorms as well in the middle of the night. Anytime really between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. looks like the most realistic time frame for you. Now we have to look at wind gusts. You see it uptrended again for the Sound. Let's make sure of that. Yeah, again, an uptrend for a lot of the South Sound here. You see how in the 1Z we were in the purple, light purple? And it kind of starts to back off on that wind shadow here. It starts to fill in on that wind shadow. It now has the strongest winds for West Beach, Smith Island, Coopville area. Now it has Coopville getting, you know, see, this is a whopping 70 miles per hour if that were to verify. And for reference, although the model runs within 24 hours of yesterday didn't show the strong hurricane force wind gusts over the Hood Canal, the ones before that, the ones that we saw about 24 hours out or so, were showing those gusts. So if at least one model run shows it, that means it's entirely a possibility. So just a heads up, we could see Port Townsend area. Port Townsend area would get some very damaging wind gusts. Oak Harbor area possibly. Langley, Freeland area, Coopville. You're on Whidbey Island. If you're on Camino Island, even has Everett, just off the coast of Everett here, getting over 60 miles per hour at 1 a.m. Which again would likely be with that line segment coming through from that front. because the westerly surge is really going to enhance the inflow into that line segment and really bolster its intensity over a very small area. And then again, see, even for the Black Hills, it's showing some areas, showing just west of Olympia now, just in the realm of high wind warning range, 57, like just outside of it. That would be interesting. But for Renton, yeah, so Renton Highlands, again, wind advisory for your area. It doesn't look too strong right now for your area. You could have a little bit of wind shadowing from the Olympics, but you're right on the edge of that kind of concerning boundary here of 30-mile-per-hour wind gusts and 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts, which will make a huge difference when the ground is this wet. Very progressive system. Yes, it's going to be in and out in a few hours or less. It's going to be a quick hitting system for sure. We're not expecting extended impacts with this into the morning time. They're likely going to let that wind advisory and high wind warning expire at 6 a.m. tomorrow. So before the sun's even up, the warnings will likely all be done. Yeah, hopefully that wasn't too vague of a forecast for you, Nicholas, but definitely heavy rain and locally strong winds tonight for the Renton Highlands, particularly the East Renton Highlands Fairwood area also. But again, the models aren't always going to show these exact terrain features, so be on the heads up. You could see stronger winds possible. It just really depends on the direction. So you see the HER model again is starting to favor more westerly winds through the area, which, you know, if you get it to funnel through some of these mountain gaps here, could locally intensify them. You know, like the Chehalis Gap is right here, for example, between the Willapa Hills and the Olympics. This would definitely funnel in some wind for the South Sound. That would bring some pretty nice winds here, Tacoma southward down towards Olympia. You know, but thankfully for the I-5 corridor, you're sheltered by the Willapa Hills and the Black Hills, so your winds likely wouldn't be this strong. I think this is why you guys were originally left out of the wind advisory at first. But as a precaution, they then added you back into the wind advisory, which again is in effect until 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. Violet Rose, I don't think Enumclaw is going to be terrible. I think it's going to be up there, but if they were expecting stronger winds, they would have put you in the warning as well. It seems like the strongest wind gusts are going to be pretty conditional based on terrain. West side of Camino, yeah, it looks extremely rough. I would batten down the hatches as soon as possible. You're only a few hours out from the winds really beginning to pick up around that area. You know, you don't have very long up there. All the actions really right now, model guidance is showing the action between 11 a.m. No, 11 p.m., pardon me, and 1 a.m. 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. Looks like the best time right now. Again, high question volume, so I won't be able to get to all of them. Just please bear with me on this. Yeah, see, it's got you still getting some wind gusts at 2 a.m., but it shows the wind gusts have already peaked by 1 a.m. And then maybe a second shot for some of Whidbey. And I don't even know if anyone lives on Smith Island, but the west beach of Whidbey could again see some of these strong winds going into the early morning time, but no guarantees on that. You know, we're just playing a huge guessing game like we always do. It always comes down to real-time observations in the area. Which right now we're in kind of a brief lull in the wind, which is good. But just a hint of what's to come later, most likely. Okay, and then just a heads up for you Pacific City folks. Those of you guys who had the levee failure this morning, they just extended that flood warning. Again, not a flash flood warning anymore. Flash flooding is no longer expected. See, this flood warning replaces the previous flash flood warning. They just updated it. So the last update was until 7:45 p.m. Yeah, this was 7:45 p.m. tonight. They extended it to 10 a.m. tomorrow. So again, flooding caused by a HESCO levee failure continues in Pacific. So in effect until 10 a.m. tomorrow now. And you're going to notice this is a pretty small sliver of that area. This includes the town of Pacific as well as the Benroy subdivision. Here going into Sumner Industrial Park. So this is east of 167. This also includes parts of Algona as well. But could see some flooding here along the White River. But again, flash flooding should be over with. Flash flooding threat right now has passed, or else they would still have that warning in effect. And kind of really odd looking warning box here, but you get the gist. From Sumner Industrial Park up through Algona into parts of South Auburn here across the railroad tracks. Could see a little bit of flooding from that levee breach, which again happened at 1:30 this morning. Not expecting to wake up to that for sure. What time does wind start? Wind should start for most of us, if not everybody, by I would say 10 p.m. tonight. But that's gonna be let's say plus or minus an hour just for forecast deviations. You usually have to give about 1 to 2 hours of clearance on either side to account for forecast deviations. You know, it's the safe thing to do. Drewski says, I think I'll be awake for the winds. I'd been staying up a lot till 4 lately. Ooh, sounds like night shift hours. Yeah, Mount Vernon, we're watching you. Seeing a lot of new people joining us, and I'm gonna keep saying this again and again for the rest of the stream. And I won't be able to answer all of your questions in a timely manner. There's just too many of them. So again, my apologies, but it is what it is. You see? The previous model run was showing bigger winds for Mount Vernon, but it seems to be shifting it a little bit farther south. But you could still get some pretty big wind up here in Mount Vernon. It's showing close to 50 miles per hour in Mount Vernon and Burlington city limits. Again, are just being heavily inundated by those floodwaters right now, and still expected again to get back up. Let's check this again. Major flood stage again, likely by tomorrow night, and then cresting at whopping 1.16 feet above major flood stage by 4 a.m. Thursday, and then falling to below major flood stage by 10 a.m. Thursday. Again, major flooding still in that area combined with winds is going to put a lot of pressure on both trees as well as the infrastructure in that area. You may notice too, with some of these stronger showers coming through, you could get the winds really kicking up with these. These have enough downbursts, enough downdrafts potential to really drag some of those stronger winds down to the surface temporarily. Again, that's what happened on October 25th. We had these heavier showers come through ahead of the main storm and knock out power for several thousand people. People thought that was the main storm, but it was not. The pressure rise came behind that a few hours later, and then that brought a whooping to all of us here in Western Washington. Oh no, Dane O'Brien, it can get much stronger than that. Look up the Hanukkah Eve windstorm, which coincidentally yesterday was the 19th anniversary of. But we just had too much going on to cover the anniversary of the Hanukkah Eve storm. Columbus Day and Inauguration Day storms too. If you look up the windstorms of 2006, 1993, and 1962, you would know we can do much more than 60 mile per hour gusts here. You know, I think Everett back in 1993, I believe, got up to 100 miles per hour. We can get much stronger than that. You just need the right ingredients. You need a really deep area of low pressure in the right place, and you'll get much stronger winds. Yeah, I totally understand the anxiety, but being prepared will reduce your anxiety. Trust me. As a man who suffers from an anxiety disorder, I see a lot of relief from anxiety when I prepare. If I'm ready for this ahead of time, even if I just mentally prepare, if I don't physically prepare myself, as long as I'm mentally prepared, then we're golden. Yeah, like Roadster Jim said, the Inauguration Day storm, January 20th, 1993, goes up there with the big three. I consider that one of the big three. Again, 62, 93, 06. the big definitive windstorms around the Pacific Northwest. You know, you obviously had some others like I believe 1985, 1999 were also big years for wind around the area. 2007 as well. The coastal gale of 2007 was another huge one. Germ 181 said, and weed helps also. Let's try to keep it PG-13 in the chat, please. Yeah, but anyways, so if we can keep the chat as related to weather as possible, that would be great. I with some younger viewers viewing as well, I just don't want to be talking about anything related to, you know, anything related to marijuana or anything like that. Let's just try to keep it PG, please. And thank you very much. Yeah, like Anita says, better to be prepared and end up not needing it than not prepared and needing it badly. You know, and preparedness is key. You know, we saw a lot of people were not prepared yesterday with that flash flood warning up in Tukwila. And, you know, I wanted to go over that real briefly, too, about what I saw from that. Yes, the levee breach was nowhere near as intense as a lot of people thought at first, but we were using the information we were provided with initially. And initially, a widespread evacuation was the right call. That it was, but I see people trying to undermine it. Afterwards, they're just like, oh, we really evacuated 46,000 people for this. I'm just like, okay, it may seem, yes, it may seem like an over-exaggeration now, but at the time, a lot of lives were at risk. You know, there might have been a huge miscommunication between the county dispatchers and the National Weather Service. Because the National Weather Service got their information from King County dispatchers. The dispatcher said that there was a full critical breach of that levee up there in Tukwila. So the NWS used the information they had at the time. They put out that flash flood warning, although they had a mistake at first. They said it was a dam break. And I kid you not, I immediately freaked out thinking that the Howard Hansen had burst and that we were going to flood over 100,000 people under feet of water, the raging torrent. But that luckily was not the case. They did correct it in time to a levee breach. And when I say in time, I say that loosely. They didn't correct it in time. They corrected it about 20 to 30 minutes later. But it was still too late. A lot of us pages got that information out as soon as we could. And my original text that I posted did say that there was a dam break in Tukwila. But it was eventually corrected to levee. You know, and I posted it so quick, I just left the comment section open. And of course, a lot of people had to go in and fully abuse it. Start chastising each other, chastising me, chastising local government officials, first responders. You know, it's not okay. I don't approve of that, guys. It's just not a good look. If you know what I mean. That's why, like, almost all of my posts nowadays are restricted to followers only. You know, I leave the live chats up for the public in case the public wants to tune in. Knock on wood, I haven't seen anyone abuse that yet. But on YouTube, we've been close at times. But her just backed off massively for the Roy area, thank goodness, says Ashley Getz here on YouTube. Yeah, are we done with 2Z already? We're just about done with the 2Z. So you know what that means. Then we wait for the 3Z and so on. And we just watch the hourly runs and keep comparing them until we're at the time of the event. And see if the models try to correct themselves as the event's happening. Which usually seems to be a pretty large habit. Especially with the HRR in particular. The HRRR, High Resolution Rapid Refresh. Whichever nomenclature you want to give it. Whenever you hear me say HRR, it says... See, HRRR here. This is the hourly refresh model. This is what we're comparing it to. We're comparing it to itself over all of its previous model runs here. The hourly. We're trying to follow trends here. See if there's any upward trends, any downward trends, constant trends, or a lot of ambiguity between runs, which in that case would make it a very difficult forecast. already difficult as it is, since I don't think the models are showing the potential pressure rise behind the front in good enough detail, just in my honest opinion. You know, I've been talking with a lot of the weather guys you guys see, like Matthew Fab with Western Washington Weather, Benjamin Yurkovich, Washington Weather Chasers. You know, I talk with Randy Small, Whatcom County Weather from time to time. There's a lot of other smaller pages around here that I communicate with on a regular basis, and we all agree on the same thing. Can you address this trend of worse going south and not as strong, or am I just wishful thinking? It's been back and forth. There's not a constant trend yet. So that is leading me to believe that we're just going to be watching the observations every time they refresh, which are normally every 5 to 15 minutes. Most of these stations here update every 5 minutes. Some of them are 15 minutes, and there's a few 1 hours. You know, the 1 hours aren't as great for tracking wind. It's unreliable for tracking sub-hourly wind gusts. You know, we really rely on the 5-minute updates. The ones that update literally 12 times an hour. Luckily, there's a lot of stations around here that do that. But this 45 here, this is still showing the wind gusts from 7 p.m. From 6 p.m., pardon me, from 6 p.m. here at West Point. So that is long since out of date. I have it filtered out to show wind gusts only above 30 miles per hour right now. It reduces a lot of the clutter on the page. See a lot of people on the Neighbors app talking about flooding. A lot of people. And you know what? You have every right to ask. There's a lot of questions to be answered, for sure. Oh yeah, thank you guys again for the generosity. And just a heads up, I think last stream I said we hit 35K. We're already 5 away from 37K. You know, it's impressive how quickly the word got out to people for those levee breaches the last couple of days. You know, the page actually gained nearly 2,000 followers alone just from those 2 posts I made yesterday afternoon about the levee breach in Tequila and early this morning about the levee breach in Pacific. You know, and again, if you know anyone that would enjoy live streams or any weather content like this around the Puget Sound, please feel free to send them my way. You know, share with your friends and family if you're on Facebook. Get the word out to people. You know, we don't want anybody being oblivious to the weather here in the Puget Sound. It's actively changing, and we got to make sure we're always on top of it. Thank you, Nicholas Blankush, for becoming a subscriber on Facebook. Really appreciate that. Let's see, how many new subs do we have already? We have 5 or 6 new subscribers already. Thank you guys for joining. Yeah, again, 99 cents a month if you guys want more in-depth and extended weather discussions. I'm right now on my subscriber page. I'm talking about the changes for Thursday's forecast. After we're done with tonight, then we'll be seeing Thursday's forecast on the main blog. You know, we just got to get through tonight, then we talk about Thursday. But I start talking about all of this stuff sooner to my page subscribers before really the public knows about this. And same with Patreon as well. If you don't have Facebook, I am on Patreon as well. Puget Sound Stormwatch. A lot of you guys have started pledging on Patreon, so thank you for that. Again, that really helps. And you know, we have YouTube memberships. We have all of that going right now. Still, we have to wait till the main event's done, till the weather calms down, that I can really start to formulate what I want to put into the YouTube memberships. Like if we want to do like member-specific videos, live streams, for example. Still trying to formulate that. Yeah, like Roadster Jim said, it's so dynamic in the winter months. Absolutely. You know, I use the word enigma quite a bit in my posts. If you guys notice, I think the post I made this morning here on Facebook as well as Patreon, I used the word enigma once or twice. But it's one of the most, this may not be a word, but it's one of the most enigmatic forecast zones in the world. let's just keep it simple and say diverse. It's one of the most diverse meteorological regions of the world. Just the Pacific Northwest in general. Yeah, absolutely. Could be worse when we get no information. Yeah, of course. Just imagine how things were back in, say, the 60s, the 50s or 60s, where, we had no models whatsoever. We used analogs, the forecast back then. And I keep forgetting. I have to share my stream link. I keep forgetting to send it to Blue Sky, especially. If you guys follow me on Blue Sky, just search up Puget Sound Stormwatch on Blue Sky if you're on Blue Sky Social. Also got to post this to X as well. My X/Twitter is my real name. So it's Anthony Croyle. ANTHONYCROILE. My @ is Milton WA Tech 99. In case you guys want to go see my X/Twitter. Post a lot of weather posts on there too, but I also talk a lot about Seahawks football, Mariners baseball. All right, there, we got it. All right, let's get back to action here, shall we? Again, we should be updating these wind gusts every 5 minutes for most of these stations. You see, we got the 7 p.m. observation, and it was below 30 miles per hour for West Point, so the 45 there dropped off. Where's the cold front now? Excellent question. Maybe a little bit hard to tell, and I swear, every time I come back to windy, I crash it. They should really consider patching that. It's like the cold front is somewhere back here right now. It hasn't made landfall on the coast yet, from what I can see. But models have it making landfall sometime around 10 o'clock. Okay, I believe this is the cold front right here, because this is the surface low. You notice that little comma feature? That's the bent back occlusion. It's going to be the areas of strongest winds within the system, but the front extends all the way down here from northeast to southwest. More so northeast to southwest across the area. So that's the frontal boundary. You can tell because these are all unstable showers too. These could be thunderstorms for all we know. Not showing lightning at the moment, but that's an extremely unstable air mass behind it, and that will keep the potential general thunderstorm risk for tomorrow as well, when that unstable cold air aloft comes in. It's really a matter of, can we get sun breaks after this, which we most likely will get some sun breaks tomorrow to enhance some of the surface-based lift ahead of these storms. Maybe we could get some lightning tomorrow too, but not really great chances tomorrow. The best chance is going to be overnight with that frontal boundary, but I'm not seeing any lightning detected as of recently. Wife wants to know how you got over your anxiety disorder. I haven't gotten over it, and I never will. The truth is, if you have it, you're stuck with it for life. But there are treatment options that you can take advantage of. Meditation is huge. Exercise, working out. Just times of mindfulness. The one thing about anxiety is you want to be mindful. You want to be aware of your surroundings. And of course, breathing exercises too are huge. If you do controlled breathing exercises with your diaphragm, like if you breathe in and you hold it for a few seconds and then you release, That increases your mindfulness. That will help with anxiety. Where do you find that wind speed map? This is weather.gov/WRH/hazards, but just a heads up. This won't be the page that you see when you go on here. You'll see this page with all the watches and warnings. You won't be able to see most of it behind my big screen here, but anyways, you go from layers here. There's a tab next to layers. So see where my pointer is next to that check mark. And then there's layers. You go over the observations. So you want to uncheck layers like that. Go over the observations and check surface observations. And then it'll show station plot at first, but you want to go, you won't see the drop down on here, but there's a drop down and then you select wind gust. And then you can set a filter here for a minimum and maximum as well as elevation too. So you can filter out elevation also. For example, if I wanted to filter out anything above 1,000 feet, so any of these stations over 1,000 feet, I could filter out if I wanted to. You know, for example, let's bring it down to bring it down to like 1,100 feet, for example. In this case, I'm going to bring it down to about 1,000 feet. So this will eliminate a lot of the higher elevation totals for wind, and we'll just get the lower elevation here. And then you can set the density as well. Now you have to zoom in a little bit to be able to select all. And that way you won't miss on any of these ones that are hidden behind others. See, we gusted to 47 again at Hoquiam. So strong winds out there. So right now we have it filtered anywhere between sea level and 1,000 feet in elevation. So any of these higher elevation spots up here, like for example, the Renton Highlands, will be omitted from this. But some stations up here that are within 500 feet will still be shown. But we filtered out everything everything above 1,000 feet. But as soon as I bring that back up, boom, they're all back. See, there's a lot of customization you can use with this site. But this is why I filter out, because you have a lot of junk in here. What is the low chance for thunderstorms for Coopville? What do you mean by what is a low chance? Are you asking if the chance is low? Because I'm going to say the chance for thunderstorms is about moderate. If the SPC has us in a marginal risk, that means there's at least some chance of even strong wind gusts from thunderstorms. And the models are showing lightning flashes too. They've been showing lightning flashes here from time to time. Do we have a 3Z yet? No, we don't. Let's check the 2Z and go to lightning flash density. Thank you, Doppler Dave, again for your super chat. We're going to call that a super duper from now on. So thank you, Doppler Dave, for your super duper. Yeah, Northwest Kitsap. If you're talking about up in Hansville here, Seebeck area could be a little bit hindered by the Olympics. So you may not get super strong winds up there. Just a heads up. But we're watching the localized pressure rise behind that front, and we'll have to watch that in real time tonight. Okay, we just crossed 37,000 followers here on Facebook. Huge applause. Thank you guys for that. Yeah, like Sonia said, thank you for your generous donation. I appreciate that a lot. Okay, yeah. So definitely a chance of thunderstorms for Whidbey Island tonight. See, these streaks, these are potential lightning flashes. And you see the trend from 1Z to 2Z. It was up here, but the 1Z to 2Z lightning coverage has increased. So from the 1Z run of the HRRR to the 2Z run of the HRRR, in that hourly change, it has increased the potential for thunderstorms, mainly over the mountains and higher elevations, but definitely a good chance of getting some lower elevation lightning tonight as well. Just really depends. Can we get those discrete breaks in the front where we can allow some clean inflow in and really boost that thunderstorm potential? The more discrete the mode is for storms, then the better the chance we have for thunderstorms in general. But overall, if it's a more congealed setup, like it's looking like a congealed sort of squall line setup, then it'll mostly be a damaging wind risk. You know, but we're not talking any large hail or any tornadoes or anything. Of course, it'll be too dark to see any funnel clouds, but there certainly could be enough wind shear between these breaks and lines to have a funnel cloud spin up. You know, I'm not going to count out the possibility of maybe having a little cold core funnel spin up. You know, but again, the tornado chance is very low. They don't have any tornado chances on the SPC for our area overnight. Yeah, of course, I shared it to Facebook as well. And that's the hazards map. And once again, it's not going to show the winds right away. Okay? It's going to show the watches and warnings right away. You just uncheck that checkbox and go over the observations and check surface observations and then select wind gust from the menu. And then you'll see all the gusts in the area. Now, if you want to see the sustained winds, keep it on station plot. And it'll show you the sustained winds as well. In the forms of wind barbs. Like, for example, a little half barb here, that would be sustained winds of 5 to 10 miles per hour. A full barb here would be 10 to 15. You know, if you have a full barb and a little barb, let's see if I can find an example of that somewhere. If for example, here's a 25 to 30. So this is 30 mile per hour sustained winds. See, this shows the flag. It shows 2 full barbs and a half barb here. That would be 25 to 30 mile per hour sustained winds. In the direction, you go from the flag to the dot. That is your wind direction. So in this case, it's almost due south. Does not mean it would be out of the north. This means it's out of due south. That's just a general course of how to read wind barbs in the area. But again, for preferences, I like to keep it simple and just look at wind gusts. And then, of course, start to filter out some of these wind gusts. So we'll filter it out back up to 30 again. Hunker down on Whidbey. Very wise of you. Could get pretty ugly over parts of Island County tonight if the models do verify. Even if you shave 10 miles per hour off of the max wind gust, it's still going to be a blustery night for Whidbey Island, regardless. Especially if you're facing west. Can you zoom in towards Puyallup? Sure. If you want all of these, you see there's not much coverage here. These are the NWS certified weather stations. So there's going to be gaps. For example, there's no station in Fife or Puyallup, but there are some up on the hillsides here. You know, so you just really have to rely on the nearest station here. Again, these are all the ones certified with the National Weather Service. If you wanted to see more stations, we could go look at the weather under map. For example, this is weather underground. This is the weather under map. So you just go to wunderground.com or just search up W under map here. This will show you more stations, but these are not certified with the NWS. In this case, you see you have stations here in Puyallup. It's like the closest one to downtown Puyallup is probably this one. And you can pull up the station here and you can see all of the data. You can blow this up in bigger detail. You can see graphs throughout the day as well. Like, for example, we got a 1/4 inch of rain today. Humidity is 99%. Pressure is falling. It's down towards 29.36 inches of mercury right now. Do I know that? And see, I don't have the ability at the moment to convert it over to hectopascals or millibars, which are the same thing. But it's down towards the 990 range already. So pressure is falling pretty dramatically as that front comes in. See, it doesn't have a light or UV sensor though. But again, you can see tables and you can see charts as well to watch trends over 24-hour periods. You can go back and forth throughout days. You know, you can see a week, you can see a month. However long the station has been recording, that's what you can watch. See, it's really interactive. I like the weather under map. It just doesn't have certified stations. But this gives you more options, in particular for Puyallup, whoever was asking about that. See, quite a density here. Again, W under map. Kelly says, ha, I know who that is. Let's try not to dox anyone on the stream tonight. The worst over? No, it hasn't even started yet. It's not really even close to starting. We still have a few more hours before we start to get up there. You know, it's not over. It's not over before it started. It hasn't started yet. Any idea about Sultan? Sultan, you're in the wind advisory. Just wanted to give you that heads up. You're in the wind advisory. But you're not in the high wind warning. Again, let's close some previous tabs here. You have the high wind warning here. And Sultan, you're in the wind advisory, but you're not in the high wind warning. But if we do get these westerly winds that work their way down towards Everett, some of these could be funneled up the Skycomish Valley a bit. So you may get some of those. Just a little heads up. Not going to say for sure, but there's definitely a chance you could get some of these westerly winds from this westerly surge overnight. But it's probably not going to be till about 1 a.m. or so. You're seeing some heavier rain cross the Kitsap Peninsula right now. But still a pretty potent rain shadow here between Everett and Arlington. We may start to see that fill in as time goes on. So again, front is still quite a ways away. But it's a few hours out because it's moving fairly quickly. It'll be in and out of Western Washington in maybe 3 hours max. But it's still quite a ways off the coast. So the worst is still pretty far off the coast, a few hundred miles at least. Where does an advisory fall in the watch warning severity? Advisory is the lower end of things. So you could have a high wind watch, and as we saw at first, that high wind watch was upgraded to an advisory. You may think it's a downgrade, but it's actually an upgrade. You know, the advisory and warnings are more short term. Watches are longer term. Watches mean that there's a potential for high winds in high wind warning criteria, which is 58 miles per hour or above. But as you saw before, it could be upgraded to a wind advisory, which lowers the totals down to about 45 to 50 at most. But then they re-upgraded it again to a high wind warning this morning for parts of the Puget Sound, the coast, and the Strait of Juan de Fuca area. You know, so there's a lot of erratic changes that we're keeping track of, and I've been making sure to do the best in my ability to alert you guys of those changes. Yeah, don't always rely on the weather apps. You know, the weather apps, I've had a lot of trouble with people in the weather apps. Like, people have been messaging me. I've been getting a lot of messages about snow in areas around Christmas time because the weather app said so. Or there would be a mix of rain and snow this weekend in, say, Whidbey Island because the weather app said so. No, I don't agree with that. So yeah, this is our front coming in. Because you notice the showers and the clouds ahead of it, and then you have breaks in the showers behind it. Because you have the warmer air ahead of it, and then you have the colder air behind it. And again, this is going to slam the door shut on any rain in the mountains for the extended period. And we're going to be seeing blizzard conditions as soon as midnight tonight across most of the passes. It's like we may have a little bit of an interruption on YouTube. Hang on. The stream preview paused. I think we're still good on YouTube, right? Think we're still good. You know, my YouTube stream actually crashed twice the other day, which was unfortunate. But yeah, I think my stream, like my stream page at least, just crashed because it's completely frozen. I can't do anything now. So come on, YouTube, get it together. But Facebook, I see Facebook still going. But yeah, my YouTube stream, at least my preview of the stream, my whole window just froze, and I'm probably going to get a crash message here in a second. Just make sure I didn't lose chat. Yeah, I'm going to try to reboot this window because I think we lost it. Yeah, my stream window crashed. Hang on, I'm trying to bring you guys back. I think I'm still live streaming. I just can't see any previews and I can't see any new comments. I'm trying to bring you guys back right now. I won't be able to see YouTube comments for probably a couple of minutes at most. Another untimely stream crash from YouTube. Way to go. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, hang on, YouTube audience. I'm trying to get you guys back. Just had a server crash here on YouTube just now. It happened twice the other day, and this makes things very difficult to work with. That's where most of my audience is right now. Julie's wondering about wind gust scenarios for Northeast Thurston County. Well, you're in the high wind warning, so just I'll give you the floor and I'll give you the ceiling, just for an approximate guess. Floor is probably going to be around 35 miles per hour, but the ceiling is going to be up to 55. So somewhere in between. Yeah, now I have no response from my YouTube server. So sorry guys if you're watching. I'm going to try to bring up the chat here in a different window. Yeah, I've got nothing. My stream's completely froze here on YouTube. May have to pull up your chat here on my phone. When it looks like Ben's going live in a half hour as well. But I'm gonna try to pull you guys up here real fast. I have to log into a different account, but unfortunately my stream just, at least my stream may still be going, but my window just went kaput completely. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so you guys are still good, but my stream is completely crashed on my end. Again, way to go, YouTube. Yeah, I'm behind on comments big time. Sorry about that, folks. YouTube had another untimely crash. Had a 61 mile per hour gust west central. If you're talking about up in the Willapa Hills, yeah, I'm aware about that, but that's a higher elevation gust. Yeah, my stream's just completely gone here on YouTube. I'm still streaming, but my windows are just, they're gone. I'm not getting any data in anymore. Like my chat crashed. My stream preview crashed. It's all crashed. Yeah, sure thing. Glory Beto, yeah, 84. Yeah, do better, YouTube. Like Angie says, this happened twice yesterday, but it recovered fairly quick. Now I'm stuck on a waiting window. My chat's blank. My preview's blank. Just inopportune. How's Eatonville looking on all of this? Well, Eatonville, your area's in the wind advisory, not the high wind warning. So they're expecting max wind gusts, and this won't be exactly what you see, but the max wind gust range is going to be between 40 and 45 miles per hour tonight. Some areas could get higher, some areas could get lower. That applies to Bonnie Lake as well. You're in the wind advisory. Again, some areas higher than 45, some areas lower than 40, some in between. We're going to be watching this in real time as long as possible tonight, assuming YouTube didn't just completely kaput the stream on my end. Yeah, I'm watching you guys. Watching my preview here on another channel tuning in. So I see the stream still going on YouTube. It's just, I have no response here on my side. It's just completely blank. It's literally, it's a frozen loading screen. That's all it is. I can't get any response from the server whatsoever. But I'm gonna have to monitor you guys separately here on the phone. Just a heads up. That may be a little bit behind. Yeah, unfortunately it is what it is. Yeah, I haven't had any wind all night. Again, some areas had wind today. Like my area down in Milton had some wind with the heavier showers that moved through earlier because it mixed down some of those showers towards the surface. This is like what we saw October 25th, where we had those strong winds with the showers that came before the actual wind event. Probably what we'll see, throughout the day today. What we did see, at least. Probably what we did see. But what we will see, that front, again, is still 200 miles off the coast. But it's coming in quick. It's about 3 to 4 hours out. So I'm not expecting the winds to really kick up around the area until about 11 o'clock. Maybe 10 o'clock at the earliest. Yeah, you guys got walloped. You guys had 3 separate hurricane force wind gusts recorded, with the max being 78 because of that leeward low that everyone was talking about yesterday. The same kind of synoptic setup that caused the Hood Canal Bridge to sink in 1979. Just that leeward low was again on steroids. This one was lesser, but you still had hurricane force wind gusts that shut down the Hood Canal Bridge yesterday. I could start a new stream, but we have a lot of people on here right now, and the coverage is still going okay. I can see the number of viewers consecutively, and I can see donations and memberships here on the phone. So I have everything I technically need. I just don't have the real-time analytic data and the stream. Well, to a degree. So I don't have the ability to view like max viewers at once or total stream duration or number of views, that I don't have access to. Yeah, the stream itself is working. The stream itself is working still, but I just lost access to everything on my end outside of current number of viewers, comments, super chats, and memberships. Really, that's about it. That's everything I can see. Probably not as intense tonight, Sarah. The more intense winds are going to be to the north of you. We're looking at a westerly surge kind of ordeal. Not necessarily a leeward low formation. Although I can't count it out. Can't count it out entirely. It has around 60 mile per hour gust for you, but it's not showing anything higher than that over that general area. It was showing 70 up here between Fort Casey and Fort Worden earlier. Yeah, right up here was showing 70 earlier, but it has backed off on that. So you could still see 60 mile per hour gusts, but I'm not expecting anything remotely close to what we had yesterday for that area. That was intense, but it was heavily overshadowed by the supposed flash flooding in Tequila. I switched gears and went into immediate breaking coverage on that flash flooding, which never really came to fruition. Yeah, I believe last night was scary. I'd certainly believe that. Yeah, so the Admiralty Inlet area. Yeah, you're in the storm warning. So we can look up something called the Beaufort Windscale here to show you exactly what I'm talking about here. See, basically, here's a good site. Let me link this site to you guys that shows the Beaufort scale. I won't be able to link it on YouTube because my comment section crashed. And I still have no response from YouTube. Oh, hang on. We might have gotten it back for a second. At least the comment section. Had it for a second and it's gone. But yeah, basically, you have gale, strong gale, and storm. So again, wind speed miles per hour. Anything 55 to 63 miles per hour is considered storm force winds. And this is based on, you usually use this for marine locations like the Admiralty Inlet into the Puget Sound, for example. But yeah, the storm warning means they're expecting wind gusts. Really, this can also include violent storm too. So storm can be grouped from storm and violent storm. It's really anywhere between 55 and 72 mile per hour wind gusts are storm force winds. Anything above 73 is hurricane force. That's what you saw over Kingston last night. Hurricane force winds. Models getting better or worse? Well, that's a highly opinionated question. If you mean consistency, they're bouncing around a bit. So they're average. They're not doing better, they're not doing worse. They just have oscillations up and down from time to time. And now we have the 3Z rendering, and the 3Z's out to 5 hours. See, the 3Z at 12 a.m. Boom, we're back up. Now it shows hurricane force winds for the Admiralty Inlet at 12 a.m. on the 3Z her. These are the little bounces up and down that I'm talking about, the little oscillations here. Yeah, I think YouTube server might be responding this time. I'm trying to bring it back here on my window. I'm not getting a busy signal anymore. It's trying to bring the packets in. So we may be hopefully fixed here in just a couple of minutes. I'm hoping so. Scott said, I wrote my social security number on my forehead and he's ready. Yeah, satire at its finest. See, it's still showing those strong winds working in the Everett. Several consecutive model runs now. That would be interesting. We had a gnarly storm go into the Olympics like that. Let's compare 2Z to the 3Z. 3Z pushes it east a few miles and shows the squall a bit stronger up here. Nope, and I'm back to a busy signal. Way to go, YouTube. Way to honk and go. Yeah, well, I just lost my page entirely. It just completely crashed. Cindy Connard says, stay safe, everyone. I work in Everett, and it was pretty windy earlier today. Okay, nope. Hang on. Now the page is trying to load again. This is definitely... This is the... Can't even think of a word I want to say for this. This is the most problematic YouTube's been in some time for me. Just unfortunate. But at least I haven't lost the stream suddenly, which is good. You know, I just have to monitor your comments on mobile right now because my server, again, in case you guys missed it, stopped responding entirely here on the desktop portion of it. Yes. Oh, now I'm a blank white screen. Now I'm a blank white screen. That's great. Come on, YouTube. Come on. Do better for me. Ooh, yeah, that's a great idea, Keith. Sounds like Keith Capillero in the chat's going to be starting a YouTube channel called K Dog Weather. He has a Facebook page called K Dog Weather already. It's K-DAWG Weather. If you guys want to go consider following Keith Capillero. He'll be starting a weather discussion channel for up in Whatcom County. See, Lake Tapps area. Hang tight. See, another very small but noticeable uptrend here for the South Sound, too. Some parts of the South Sound, 45 to 50 miles per hour, if this model were to verify, and that's around 1 a.m. So this would affect Lake Tapps, too. Probably around 1 a.m., you could see 45 to 50 mile per hour gusts on Lake Tapps. That applies to pretty much everywhere here in the South Sound and the surrounding foothills. The timing's going to be fairly consistent, so this should answer most of your guys' questions. Maybe refresh. I'm trying to refresh it, but I can't exit out of the stream without cutting the stream off entirely. But we may have to restart the stream on both ends. Just a little early heads up. If we keep having these problems, we may have to do a restart. In that case, that would cut off this stream and start a new one. But unless I have to do that, I don't want to do that. It's just YouTube. I have no signal from YouTube anywhere. Yeah, 3Z Wallops, West Snoqualmie County, for 100% for sure. You know, 2Z Wallops you. 1Z has it walloping you, but an hour earlier. 0Z Wallops. You know, 23 back to 1 a.m., but still Wallops. It's been consistent. Timing bounces around about an hour or so. But, you know, you get the point. You get the point of what I'm saying. It still just shows a walloping for Western Snoqualmie County here. Yeah, definitely charge all of your stuff, without a doubt. Just logged in, Enumclaw Plateau, wind advisory. Southwest winds 20 to 30 miles per hour, gusts 40 to 45 are the possibility for your area. But there's a good chance you could see less than that, you could see higher than that. It's just a general range for the whole area. You likely won't see exactly that. Again, that applies for everybody on here. But guys, I need to go refill my water jug real quick. Running low on water. So I'll be back here in a second. Drought monitor. Okay, we could check out the drought monitor. What is it? I think it's drought.com. Nope. Okay. Sure, let's look at the region. Yeah, we're definitely doing better. We're doing much better. I swear, whenever I saw Michael use this site, there was a slider to show the comparison somewhere. But anyways, yeah, these are conditions. This is as of December 9th. So a week ago. But it was released on the December 11th. So we don't have any new data in the last week. But as of last week, we have seen drastic improvement here in the lowlands. We're still in a moderate drought by definition. Severe drought for parts of the King and Pierce County foothills here. But a lot of areas back down to abnormally dry. And actually drought removal completely for the Olympics here, the west slopes of the Olympics. Yeah, guys, just a heads up. I think we may have to do a restart on the stream on, at the very least on the YouTube side. I think we can keep streaming here on Facebook. I think I have the ability to just cut off YouTube only, but we may have to start a new YouTube stream just as a heads up because I have no signal from YouTube and nothing's working on my end for YouTube. I see the stream still going because, again, I'm watching you guys on my phone right now. But I have a busy signal here on YouTube. So hang on, YouTube. I think we're going to restart you here real quick. So I'm just going to change it to live storm coverage for part 2. But if you guys are watching right now, please be sure that you have that bell rung. And so you don't miss out on when I do go live again, which should be a couple more minutes. I have to change a few settings here real quick. But yeah, YouTube audience, stand by. I will have to restart the stream because I'm getting absolutely no signal here from YouTube whatsoever. If I open a new YouTube window, it works fine. But the actual stream itself is not working at all. So, yeah, I'm going to do a quick restart, YouTube, so hang on tight. We're going to fire up a new stream here so I can actually get all the analytics in the chat here on the PC. Yeah, you said you'll come back if it disappears. It will disappear because it will disrupt the stream. So hang on, we're going to fire up a part 2 here in just a moment. Stand by.